South Coast derby wasn't initially about football, and to some fans it still isn't. The animosity stretches far further than results on a Saturday, but instead is about two cities with very different histories, less than 20 miles apart. Southampton historically served as a commercial port, becoming the go-to place for trade and passenger traffic. In the 20th century, Southampton's docks were the gateway to the rest of the world, hosting great liners such as the Titanic, Queen Mary, and Queen Elizabeth. These weren't just your everyday ships, they were symbols of Britain's excellence in engineering and modern luxury. However, only 35 kilometres southeast, another dock plays a very different role. Portsmouth has been the home of the Royal Navy since the Middle Ages. Founded in 1495 by Henry I, the dockyard built and repaired countless warships for the Royal Navy, which at its peak had control of the world seas. From engineers, blacksmiths to carpenters, Portsmouth created a working-class, tight-knit community proud of its military importance. By the late 19th century, football was exploding. The FA Cup and the spread of railways made organised football matches between towns up and down the country more possible than ever before. Communities from factories, churches, and other workplaces often made football teams for morale, social identity, and even just for recreation. And it was during this period that both Southampton and Portsmouth formed their own football clubs. Southampton were formed as a church team in 1885, with Pompey entering the rivalry 13 years later in 1898. Southampton were originally called St Mary's Young Men's Association, hence the nickname the Saints. But in 1897, they dropped the St Mary's and renamed to become Southampton Football Club, as we know them today. And well, they became pretty ambitious, moving beyond parish football and entering the Southern League in 1894. They won 6 titles in 7 years and reached the FA Cup final twice, a remarkable achievement for a club outside of the Football League. As mentioned earlier, Portsmouth joined the party just over a decade later, but with very different origins. Pompey were formed by naval dockyard figures who wanted professional football presence in the city. They entered the Southern League straight away and won the division in 1902, just a handful of years after forming.
To see Portsmouth in white shorts and the Wolves in the dark, and Guthrie wins the toss for Pompey.
Pompey then went on to reach the FA Cup final in 1934 and won it just before the Second World War stopped the sport in 1939.
We all know that the Navy is Britain's sure shield, but the sailors won't be on the water tonight.
The first recognised friendly between the two South Coast clubs came on the 6th of September 1899, with underdogs Portsmouth beating Southampton 2-0. Across the following 71 recognised meetings to date, Southampton have come out on top on 35 occasions, Portsmouth 21 times, with 15 draws being recorded. Other historical meetings included Southampton's 5-1 FA Cup thumping of Portsmouth in 1906, Pompey's 5-1 redemption following the First World War, yet another 5-1 win for the Saints post the Second World War, and their last league meeting in 2012 that finished 2-2, or as Pompey fans have now since called it, David Norris Day.
No, I turned wrong.
That game came at a time, Easter 2012, where we were absolutely on our knees as a football club, and there was only really one direction that we were heading, and it just felt like one almighty lift of weight off your shoulders in a moment there, characterised by one strike of the boot from that man, knockdown, cut down, that's not really meant for David Norris, but he just kind of happens to be there, right? And he just goes, right, come on then.
I need to know now. Can you love me?
And all you see are just the pixels of Pompey fans going all over the place. And it's like there's literal bodies transferring between rows and stairwells and seats. And yeah, it's I don't think anyone that was ever there or anyone who bleeds Pompey blue, I don't think that's ever going to leave them ever, really.
Now, there's one character that played a significant role in the modern story of the South Coast derby. His name, Harry Redknapp. Redknapp was appointed Portsmouth manager in 2002 and went on to guide Pompey promotion to the Premier League in 2003, their first time back in the top flight of English football since 1988. However, in 2004, Redknapp did the unthinkable. He fell out with Pompey's chairman, Milan Mandaric, and switched his alliance from blue to red. In the eyes of Portsmouth fans, he had committed the ultimate betrayal. As for Saints fans, they couldn't believe their luck. They'd stolen their rival's hero and a manager that had just taken a football club to the Premier League. But on the 24th of April 2005, Pompey fans will say they had the last laugh. Redknapp returned to Fratton Park, this time in the away dugout, and Portsmouth, they beat Southampton by 4-1.
He took charge of our worst derby performance in the 50 years that I've been watching, when we went to Fratton Park and lost 4-1. I think it was 4-1 down after 25 minutes. And all he did was, by doing that, was made both fan bases hate him even more.
And for the Saints, well, things went from bad to worse. Redknapp couldn't save them from Premier League relegation, and at the end of the 2004-05 season, and less than a year after he joined, Redknapp, well, he left the football club. Now, already that story seems bizarre enough, but it involves Harry Redknapp, so it just couldn't stop there. In December of 2005, Redknapp returned to Portsmouth and went on to lead them to their greatest modern achievement, the 2008 FA Cup final win. For Pompey fans, at that point, Redknapp had redeemed himself. As for Southampton supporters, well, it was just extra agonising salt in the wound. The Premier League era changed everything. Previously, both clubs shared the same divisional status, but for many years they've been apart. After 2010, their paths totally split. Southampton climbed and retained Premier League status, while Portsmouth suffered financial collapse and spent years in the lower tiers of English football. Until now, the South Coast derby had almost disappeared off the football calendar. Southampton fans would celebrate a Portsmouth defeat in League One, and Pompey supporters would enjoy Southampton losing a Premier League game, but in relation to the derby, that all meant nothing. The only meeting since 2012 was in an EFL Cup tie at Fratton Park in 2019. Southampton demolished Pompey by 4-0, but even then it felt like one big exception, really. And that's why this time, this season, the South Coast derby goes from being dormant to well and truly alive. John Massinio's Portsmouth will be desperate to take this opportunity with two hands. As for Southampton, they'll do anything to retain the upper hand.